Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. So it is Thursday morning at 11:04 in the morning. So another gray day. It was sort of nice. Well, no, it was actually very chilly and shitty yesterday. But that's been every day. It's pretty gray. I don't know. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. So tomorrow night, have another quantum show. We're playing for a benefit show, so really cool. There's a local music school that is just amazing. We're kind of blessed in this community here in Mid Coast, where, well, on one hand, there's so many talented artists and musicians, and it's a small little coastal town, but there's just, I don't know, an abundance of like talent, and then there's a lot of opportunities for kids to get into the arts and to the music, and we have Bay Chamber Music, of course, which is an amazing school. At one point, I was teaching there and working there, and there's also another school, Mid Coast Music Academy, which is another amazing school. And so tomorrow is a benefit fundraiser for some of the like summer camps that they run. So we'll be doing a quantum set tomorrow night at about 5:20 or so. So yeah, it's gonna be. It was gonna be outside originally, but now they moved it, so it's gonna be inside because it's supposed to rain tomorrow. So yeah, if you're around, it's gonna be at the Oceanside High School. We're gonna be playing inside a high school, which is pretty funny, but I think it should be cool, I guess. And this will be, there's gonna be a bunch of other bands playing, and Subatomic is playing, which is a local band that is comprised of all like middle school kids, and they're actually really awesome, and it's mostly the whole thing is really for them. So looking forward to that. We got some more quantum shows coming up. It's nice to be playing gigs. We had our big All Roads Festival show last week, and that was an epic weekend. So I'm gonna probably do a video on the whole kind of weekend, and just kind of reflecting on the whole thing. So, but right now I've been back to doing movie shows, and I've been doing a lot of music shows too, which has been a blast. Just trying to mix things up. I've always had music shows incorporated on this channel. I mean, yeah, it's primarily, it's the focus is all movies, but to me, all of these things are, all part of this. They're all members of the same family. So, but getting back to movie shows, today is going to be another review and talk about another Western I just saw. I've been working on watching this entire collection. There's 20 Westerns on here. This is an awesome collection. It's all DVDs. I got this for free, and there's a bunch of like really old school westerns. I'm really digging. There's a shit ton of like spaghetti westerns, Italian exploitation movies that are on here. So far, all of the movies I've watched, I have not seen, and so I've gotten some just exposed to so many cool movies, and it's been awesome. And the quality's not very good. The movie that I'm going to be talking about today, the quality was, well, shit, but it's still it was still worth watching, and I really love this movie, and it was still an awesome experience, and I would totally buy this movie that I'm going to talk about today on Blu-ray if I came across it. It's a classic, it's uber low budget, and exploitation spaghetti western, if you will. I love, again, I did a show. I've done a few shows on this movie, and I think pound for pound overall, I have to say it's probably my favorite western. It's for me, it's a western that it's a movie that I go back to. It's like comfort food, and it's got to be overall my favorite western of all time, and that is Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. I've done a show or two on that movie before, and I did one I did another show. I just rewatched it last week. I got this really beautiful Blu-ray version of it about a year ago, which is amazing, just absolutely amazing. And I rewatched it, and I did another show on it, and I think I set it up. Well, I did set it up as a premiere, so I think it's going to be premiering pretty soon. But I have to say, at the end of the day, that's The Unforgiven, directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Morgan Freeman and the late great Gene Hackman. It's got to be pound for pound my favorite western of all time. But aside from that, I really and again I love John Ford. I love the classic American western genre. But naturally, I have to say, like with just in general movies in general, I really am attracted to and find a deeper love and appreciation for the really low budget Italian and European westerns. In the spaghetti westerns that came out, that were came out after a lot of these American westerns came out, trying to emulate them. I love the spaghetti westerns and a lot of these Italian exploitation movies, just because they tend to be, well, they're just really gritty, and they tend to be really fucking dark, and they're really violent, and I just love how just they're just kind of dirty. And so again, it's the same thing for my love in general of film. I love all kinds of movies, but we all naturally kind of gravitate towards those styles or things that that feel like it just connects. And today's show is on one of those movies that definitely fits in that style, and it's called "It Can Be Done, Amigo," and it came out in 1972. It was directed by Maurizio Lucidia, and it's an Italian film. It's 72, super low budget. It's kind of a comedy. I was surprised. It's a western comedy, and it's like one of the characteristics for westerns is that typically the way a lot of these super low budget films were shot is that there's a lot of reverb. If you watch a lot of you know the first spaghetti westerns that I ever saw as a kid was obviously Sergio Leone films, and there's like this classic thing of where the way a lot of those films were shot. I mean, they're pretty low budget. Sergio Leone, a lot of his films were very huge, and they weren't so low budget, but they were really dark and really gritty. But kind of the most, well, probably the most well-known director in the genre. But they typically, the audio and the way everything was recorded in a lot of these, and the way a lot of these movies were shot, is just a lot of reverb and a lot of echo. So whenever someone's walking or like the dialogue, there's like this reverberation, which I always have felt is like a classic kind of trope of spaghetti westerns. And this movie has so much reverb on it; it's really funny, and it's like especially the first act of this movie where there's dialogue and it's literally echoing, like an echo chamber. It's pretty extreme and over the top, but it's great. This movie is super low budget. It's a great action movie. It's really silly and goofy and super cheesy at times. I haven't really seen too many westerns, just in general, that are they're action movies, but they're also like comedies. And this is definitely a split between an action movie. It's got the classic kind of western feel and vibe, but it's also like this, I don't know, almost like a screwball comedy. But it's awesome, and it's super low budget. It's totally an exploitation movie. The minute this movie starts, you can totally tell it's like super low budget, and it was, done with a lot of passion, but they obviously didn't have a massive budget behind it. But it had one of the other things that's really awesome is Jack Palance is in this movie, who is one of my favorite American actors. He was in a shit ton of exploitation movies. He was also in a lot of American films, big budget Hollywood films. But in the 70s, he did quite a few exploitation movies. And I always find it interesting with certain actors when, they have decades of, of films that they've put out where they were, involved in the 70s and 80s, and they were able to kind of like do these really low budget independent exploitation movies, but then they end up doing these big Hollywood productions. And Jack Palance was definitely one of those actors. But this is an awesome movie. It's super fun. It's super entertaining. Really great cast. Bud Spencer is pretty phenomenal. He's like this giant bear in this movie. He's kind of the lead or the lead character. And he just basically, there's these scenes where these cowboys kind of challenge him to like physical fights and confrontations, and they call him like the Fat Man, and he just like beats the shit out of all of them, and it's really funny. You never see him use a gun. It's always like, hand to hand, fight sequences, but it's great. It's really, really awesome. The action, the fight sequences, the fight choreography, for what it's worth, is really great. Really, really fantastic. And of course, Jack Palance is awesome in this. He kind of plays his like sidekick, who's like kind of this quirky, silly kind of a character. Really great though. 1972. I was really surprised on this movie. Again, comedy incorporated into Western films. I haven't really seen all that much. There was one movie I did a show on early on when I got going into this collection. I still have a ways to go. I'm on I think this is the third disc, second or third disc. There's 4 discs in here. No, actually, I'm only on. Wow, okay. I'm only actually on the disc. I'm only on disc 2. I have 2 more discs of movies. So this will be interesting. And again, none of these movies that I've come across, I think I've done about seven shows on this collection. And there's 20 movies altogether. So I have a lot more movies to check out. But so far, I have not seen any of these movies, and none of them. I'm sure there's got to be a few, but this is an awesome compilation. Really, really excited, and it can be done. Amigo is a killer movie. It's kind of a slap. It's kind of got this It's a great action movie. It's super low budget. It's kind of cheesy, but it's got great action, and it's kind of like a weird buddy movie. It's kind of a screwball comedy, but super entertaining, and I really loved it. And it's definitely without a doubt an exploitation movie, and you could tell that this movie, it feels like, and again, the quality of this movie on DVD, on this DVD collection, it might be the worst one I've seen. I mean, it's almost unwatchable because it's so low. It's the transfer of this movie, it was probably, basically a copy of a copy on DVD. The transfer is so bad that this movie is almost unwatchable. But it's such a great movie, and I had such a good time watching this movie. And it's a contrast because some of the other films I've watched that have definitely been like in the Italian kind of exploitation world have been uber dark. So this is a nice little variety, a nice little kind of tonal shift to like watch something that's still definitely an exploitation movie, but it's definitely a lot more just entertaining and light in nature. But I love the dark shit. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else I'll discover on this collection. But really, really cool movie. I highly recommend it. And again, it came out. What year did I say it came out? It came out in 72. My 70s, the 1970s, hands down, has kind of always been my favorite decade, and can't get enough of it. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.